In this episode, we install this, and this, we put this thing in, and do some stuff in here to make it all work. And remember to smash that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you want to see this thing out in the tracks, be sure to follow my other channel, HACtvTours, where we take this thing for all driving, camping, all that sort of good stuff. I'll leave a link in the description below and at the end of this video. But for now, let's get stuck into this dual tank install so I've got a bit more distance in the old girl. Giddy up. So last time we were here, I finished painting up the tank, done the sealer kit inside and wrapped the coat of the outside. So if you missed that episode, go back, have a look. But today we are going to start with just putting all the in-tank stuff, just so this thing's sealed off and I don't have to have all this expensive stuff floating around the shed. So first thing I'm going to do is set up the sender. So I've actually picked up a brand new sender. This thing cost me a mint and I'm pretty sure it's the last one in Australia. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt all the new fuel pump onto this, wire it all up, and then I'll seat this down. And then yeah, we'll get stuck into how I'm going to start plumbing up all these fuel lines and everything. So yeah, let's start with this. Righto, let's not stuff this up because I can't get another one of these anymore, but it should be pretty straightforward. So got the pump. Pump's got two terminals, positive and negative. The sender has two wires, positive and negative. They screw on here. The pump seats down in this little notch down here. And then we have a filter which goes on the bottom, and then a little hose which connects the fuel pump to the line out. So settle this up and then we can get it in. Alright, so I was just cleaning up the area to put a new O-ring in to realise that this $450 part didn't come with a new O-ring, so I'm going to have to order one in. So for now I'm just going to sit this in here just so it's out of the way, and then I'll continue with the rest of the car. So a bit disappointed, but yeah, it doesn't matter. This car used to actually be on gas, LPG, and I've recently removed the tank. Obviously all the wiring and stuff is still floating around, just disconnected it at the engine bay. But I do need to remove how they fixed it all to the car. So they've put all these brackets and everything in just to put the gas tank in. So I have to remove all these just so I can get to all the bolts that bolt the factory tank back in. So I'll have to rip all these out, and while I'm down here I might just neaten up all these wires so I don't have all this electrical stuff floating around near petrol tank. So yeah, I'll keep doing that, and then I'll move up towards the fuel filler, remove the old gas filler and all that sort of stuff, because I've got a new dual filler for there as well. So yeah, this will be fun. Right, so I've just done a quick test fit after I tied it off one of those wires that were back here, and there is no way that I can get to these bolt holes to put the tank in because of the tow bar in the way. So I've got a feeling that I'm gonna have to take the tow bar off to get this tank in. What a disaster. I think this has been on since brand new. Anyways, now I've got to work out how this thing's even fixed on and rip it off. Good luck. Righto, so I've ran pretty much all the wires that need to be ran to run the two tanks. So I had a bit of a drama with the original wiring, obviously because it used to be on gas. People have been through this car and just cut and shut wires everywhere. So pretty much had to strip it back as far as I could find the original wires and then run a new loom to the auxiliary tank, and so I can actually work out what the hell's going on. So that's all done. Got all the cables ran to where they need to go. Got a bit of extra length on them just so when I'm wiring into the new tank and the Pollak valve that I've got a bit to play with there. So anyway, wiring pretty much done. Now I've got to put in the tank. I'm just so I can gauge the length of all the hoses that I need to do and set up the filler neck and all that. So next thing I'm going to do is install the new dual filler and suss out how I'm going to do the new pipes that go to the tank and the auxiliary tank. So that'll be fun. Alright, so I'm going to do a bit of an update of where I've got so far, because I've had a few dramas, so I'll just take you under the car. So, for the auxiliary tank, I actually purchased a new filler pipe for that. So it actually comes with this metal pipe which runs around the back of this cross member here and on the other side of the shock, you can see back there, and then runs down about halfway down here, and then the rest of the line is the rubber hose there that you see. So that was a bit of a mission to get, because you had to have this piece attached to this, get it all up there, test fit it, and then cut this to the right length just to be able to get it in. And I've also put just another bit of rubber around it where it might sort of touch something else that's metal. I might put something else on this side here, because that's the mount that holds the fuel tank up. So I need to put another bolt in there, because the one that was originally in here was a coach bolt, so I wasn't too happy with that. And then I've also had to find the original wiring, because when they'd done the gas, they absolutely hacked it all up. So this is just my temporary wiring for now, just so I can work out what is actually what. So I've labelled everything, and I've put a new plug. So this is like a new loom that I'll run back to the auxiliary tank, and then that's connected to the fuel pump on that side. So that's how that's all run there. So that'll run up there later. And then I've got the new fuel hoses for the main tank, and then I need to run the wires for the main fuel tank back here as well. So all I've got left to do back here is a bit of wiring, run the other filler hose for the main tank, and mount the tank. So not too bad on this side. So what I might do now is put the Pollak valve on. Right, so this is the Pollak valve. So this is what switches the fuel and all the electrics to each tank when I flick the switch in the car. So essentially I'll be mounting this somewhere up in here as high as I can, work out the best sort of way to run it. I think if I keep the hoses up as high as possible, it's probably my best bet. And then I can get rid of whatever the hell they've done here with these fuel hoses and whatever. So I'll have to fix all that out, and then run my hoses to from my auxiliary tank back here as well. Everything will do all its switching here, run the wiring loom, tie it all back, put it all in conduit, make sure it's all nice and neat. And this side's ready to roll. So I might tackle this thing tonight, see how far we get. Right, so I've mounted the Pollak valve. Righto, so I've had to mount it to the underside of the floor. Was going to put it on the face of the frame there, but the way the sort of bracket works on the valve, it sort of makes the pipe sort of angle back towards the back of it, so it didn't really work out with the brake lines and whatnot. It's just sort of how it sort of worked out, but it's not too bad. I'll probably end up just putting a bash plate under here just to stop anything coming up and hitting it, or a stick or something. You know, never know what could happen. So, but you know, the hoses are as high as they can possibly be now. So all I got to do now is sort out the million wires that I got to run to this thing, and run the other two hoses from the auxiliary tank, and she's good to go. Happy days. Right, so as you can see, I've got cables running left, right and centre at the minute. So what I've had to do is I had to pull the battery out just so I can get to this area a lot better. And I had to find the wire that switches the relay for the fuel pump for the existing wiring loom, because I need to run that to the Pollak valve. So instead of the car turning that relay on, I need the Pollak valve to turn that relay on, so everything's powered by the switch in the car when I switch between the tanks. So on this patrol, it's all the way down the bottom underneath all the other relays. So found where that is now. So what I'm going to do is just tap into that, and that'll run back to the Pollak valve through one of my new wires that I've run. So now I know where that is. I can neaten all this up, run whatever I've got to run, and start sorting out all these other wires as well that have been run in the past. So there's a bit of work to do here. So yeah, we'll see how we go. I just want to get it all wired up just so I can test it, and then I'll worry about neatening it up properly. So next, yeah. As you can tell, this isn't exciting me at all. I hate wiring. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. Righto, so I've been doing stuff just all over the place because I've been waiting for certain parts to come. So I think now I've finally got the final piece of the puzzle, so I can jerry rig everything all up, do a test run, so make sure it all works, and then I can just pretty much just go front to back, neaten everything off, put the wires where they're supposed to go, and yeah, hopefully it all works. So just gonna wire up the switch. So you need a double pole, double throw switch to make this work. So I'll wire that in, put some fuel in the tank, rig that up on the ground, and give it a test. So yeah, so there we go. Righto, time to give this thing a test. So I think I finally got there. Unfortunately, I was having trouble with the original wiring on the car. A few people had gone through this because I pulled back the original wiring loom and there was already all this taped up wires and stuff in there as well. So the wires that I thought were working to run the fuel pump were not. So I had to trace everything back and find out exactly what was happening when. But anyway, I finally sorted it out and I'm a lot happier. I was a bit aggro before, but anyway, I'll show you how it all works now. Everything's all just sort of set up temporarily. So I've got the rear fuel tank just sitting on a couple of boxes just plumbed in back there, because I need to pull it all off again so I can solder all the wires properly and put it all up properly. So that's like that. And you know, obviously all that stuff needs to be sorted out, but this is the switch. The way the double pole works is the positive is crossed over diagonally, and anyway, there's a bit of that little drawing probably sums up what's happening in that switch a bit better. So the idea is the pushing down is the main rear tank, and then up is the sub tank. So I'll turn the ignition on with the sub tank on. So it should be about 3/4 of the tank. So you'll see it come up because the rear tank only has like, I don't know, 5-10 litres in it. So under the car I heard the Pollak valve click, so it's switched over back to the rear to the sub tank, and the fuel gauge is slowly coming up. The low fuel light I think is on because I've got that wired in with the rear tank, and the rear tank has no fuel in it, so I think that's why the fuel light's on. So now it should start on the sub tank. If I switch this to the middle, it'll starve it of the fuel. This middle is nothing. You hear it start to die, and then I flick it down and the other fuel pump kicks in. And the gauge will start dropping back down. Then if I flick it back across, gauge will start coming back up. she's a bit loud because obviously I've got the exhaust off at the minute. It's just so I can get to everything underneath. So there you have it. Now I just got to go through the lengthy task of properly wiring it up, soldering all the wires, putting everything back perfect. So yeah, happy it's working now though. Righto, so finally done the wiring. Bloody glad that bit's over. Bloody headache. Anyway, I'll show you what we've done. I'll start with the front. I've got rid of all that spaghetti that was here in the bonnet. I had wires crossing over here, stuff coming over the top here, everywhere. It was an absolute disaster. So all that's been neatened up. I've got a little fuse box there. I've just got this temporary because I couldn't get the one that I wanted. So this will just stay here for now until I get, I want to get a bigger one here that I can mount up, put it on a plate or something. So they're all the things that I'm running off all the fuses now. And then yeah, here I've just got pretty much just the 2 wires and then the odd factory wire that's coming in for the positive there. Pretty happy with that, and it's a hell of a lot neater than what was there before. And then as for the Pollak valve, just get me creeper and we'll jump under. And there's the Pollak valve. So all the wiring and everything I've tried to tuck up as high as I can, and it's all fixed to the brake lines and everything that runs through up there. And it's all in the conduit and everything, so that's about as high as I can get it. Later I'll get a bit of sheet metal and I'll make myself a little bit of like a bash plate under here. So I'll fold something up and I'll come up just to stop any rocks and any sticks that want to come up and jam themselves up here. Hadn't had any issues before, but you never know. Now that there's something there, it'll probably something to hit. So I'll sort that out later. And then up where the sub tank is, so I've got those fuel lines running to the Pollak valve now. And then this is a new wiring loom that I had to make that goes to the factory wiring. So that goes all the way back there. And then that wiring from the sub tank runs back there and goes into that plug there. So if I need to unplug it for whatever reason, I can. And then that all runs back here. Everything's tucked up as high as I can. It's all running the conduit. These are the plugs that I'll run into the rear tank sender. And yeah, so everything's ready to go. I've got my fuel hoses here. So these will go into the tank when I mount it. All I need to do back here is work out the fuel filler pipe, which comes through there. And yeah, pretty much just mount the tank. So it's all pretty straightforward now. Yeah, so happy days. Start her up. We got power, baby! Righto, so worked out what I'm going to do with this bit of a bash plate underneath the pipe valve. So pretty much just got a bit of flat plate steel and I'm just going to mount it like just straight underneath. So only thing I need to do, I have to cut out the bend where the frame is. So this portion I need to follow that with the beam, and Yeah, and then I'll work out how to fix it, probably from underneath or something. Yeah, I'll see how I feel, but I might put something that folds up on this side, but I think that should do it. Righto, so I wanted to weld a little upstand sort of section on that plate. Reluctant to show this because yeah, I'm not a welder, so forgive me for the weld, but I'm getting there, just having a crack, you know. So yeah, should look good from the bottom. There you go. You know what they say, do your best, grind the rest. She's alright, it's under the car anyway. Righto, so last piece of the puzzle is I need to clean up the rear tank bash plate so I can get her up. So yeah, hit this wire wheel, maybe the flappy disc on the grinder, clean her up, and I'll stick it on, so shouldn't be too bad, and then we're ready to roll. Righto, so she's all done, ready to roll. Got the switch in the car, it's all working good. I actually ended up getting a black sleeve that goes over that switch so you don't see any of the silver, and I just feel like it's better than seeing that big silver on-off switch. So I got rid of the plate that says on and off, and it's just a little round switch, so I'll give you a bit of a close-up of that. But yeah, she's all good, all ready to roll. It's something so simple, but it took so much effort to get it going, and everything that could go wrong went wrong, but pulled through in the end. And yeah, I think in the long run it'll pay itself off. So it did cost a bit more than I thought it was going to cost, but I think yeah, like I said, I think it'll pay itself off on the next big trip. So I've got the 70 litre sub tank and now the 90 litre main tank, the rear jerry can holder if I need it as well. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you like that episode, remember to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more. Got a few things going on in the background here. I think I've got like 3 projects going at the same time, but anyway, yeah, so until then, keep having a crack. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.